Hey lifers, you know, sometimes things aren't as they're advertised, and I've also learned that you really need to slow down and read the fine print. I've been scratching my noggin here for the last few days, trying to figure out what's going on with the V-Drive puke tank in the 24. I've almost kind of came to the conclusion that it may have been moisture that wicked out and kind of went up to the top. I don't know. Honestly, I just, it's odd. And maybe it was just the pounding, and there was a little bit in the bottom of the tank, and it flew up to the top and got on the screen and then popped its way out. I am just totally dumbfounded. But this brings me to this. And remembering back in the day when you used to have a tube come out of your valve cover and go up to your air breather. And inside your air breather, there would be this little plastic thing, and it would be filled with this white material. Well, I went searching for the white material because I thought, oh, they've got to be able to find some bulk of that somewhere. And I thought I did. Now, this is where you got to start thinking about the fine print of some of these auctions on eBay, because that's what I got in this big box was this. And as you can see, it's the right filter element, but as you can also see, I'll throw one on this post-it note, it's half the size of a post-it note. That was $7. That was $14. That was $21. Yes, I got ripped. I got so ripped. It's not even funny. I got ripped. But it's one of these stupid items that it's so cheap that it would cost more money to send it back and to make an issue about it, and I still wouldn't have the damn material. So, if y'all want to throw down in the comments section how big of a knob I am, I'm cool with that. But if you also have a source to buy this material, I've needed it more than once. And I would love to have a couple feet of it. But to make a long story short, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this element and I'm going to kind of fluff it up a little bit. And I'm going to put three of these guys inside that tank, and hopefully it will stop it from splashing up and then coming out the vent. Even though, as I said, in the Beesmeyer, I've got a V-Drive in there. It's got a little oil cup, you know, like you use for machinery. You fill it up and it'll drip in. That's it. That's all it needs. It never has oil anywhere. This V-Drive, as I said, besides filling it with water and everything else I've done with it over the years, it always wants to spit out something. Now, I figured that I had it solved because one of the fittings that actually went into the V-Drive at one time had the slightest hairline crack, and it would just sit there and drip over time. And it was the most stupidest thing. And it took almost, I hate to say this, but like almost 2 years of finagling around with different BS to figure out this one little fitting was just causing a lot of the problems. But again, this is my master plan for this V-Drive, and as you can see, I still have oil, and I can't have oil flying around in the bilge. It's unacceptable to me. I mean, I don't even like my boats to leak water in, let alone have, you know, V-Drive fluid and transmission fluid and oil leaking inside the bilge. That's insanely unacceptable to me. I mean, the 24 kind of drives me a little crazy because it actually has a stuffing box. You know, it's the same with the Beezy, and they're actually designed to leak and drip, and it's like, this is almost defeating the reason of having a tight boat. So I have to deal with that. And speaking of something else I have to deal with, we had a lot of fun on the mini fiberglass Freedom machine on the last ride there, but it came at a cost, like it always does. To be honest, I'm not really sure what the hell is going on out here. We've had an exorbitant amount of massive rainstorms that have come in and flooded the land and pulled everything off, but as I showed in that last video, we have like a forest that's floating around in the bay. And it may be because the dams are dumping. I don't know, but I mean, you can see. You can see the paint. I mean, look down here. Let's get you a shot here. And look. Yeah, what's up there? And you got like that. And I know some would say, you know, oh, it's bad paint. Yeah, trust me, it's not. I mean, I laid on my back on this boat for about 6 days and took off every tiny bit of paint that was left and then recoated it twice. This also brings up another sore point with a lot of people. They're like, oh my God, that's got bottom paint on it. Well, no, it actually isn't bottom paint at all. It's Rust-Oleum with an enamel hardener in it, so it gets hard as a rock. And this isn't the first time around with this boat. I mean, I've got strikes that have been damaged. I had a hole put in it at one point. It was small, but it was back by the keel about 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And as you see, we don't play. We run hard, but she takes a beating, and that's why it's got a black bottom. It's not necessarily bottom paint, but it is in the sense of it's easy to fix paint. Because, as I said, with all those sticks and crap floating around out there, like one of my first videos was actually fixing this whole strike on YouTube because I couldn't figure out, it kept getting broken. It's just a box on the side of the boat here. On the side of the hull actually goes straight down, and then they put this box on the outside so it was hollow. And we filled it with some 16-pound expansion foam, and it's held up ever since, so that's been a big plus. But as I said, this bottom takes a beating, and I mean a beating, and that's on a normal time. And as I said, recently, I don't know what's going on, but we have more sticks and logs in the water than I ever care to think about. I mean, honestly, this is my brand new 21 pitch Solus prop, and I had to straighten out a couple edges here because it took a chunk in that. Had a little piece out of here and actually tore this up real bad, enough to leave digs in it. So I may actually be looking for a new prop over the winter, which is a little sad. So it's going to be kind of iffy about how much more we get going out here, because we got fall is upon us hard. Unless I can actually see a clear bay out there, I'm really not sure what we're going to be doing right now. So we're just kind of on hold and thinking about fixing things again. As I said to Special Assistant Jack out on the water, I'd much rather go in, everything's fixed and working and put away for the winter, than to have, you know, just a blowout and totally break shit before putting it away. Because then it's just things are hanging over your head. So at the moment, we're not really sure what we're going to do. But it's too messed up out to actually take them out. So I just can't do that to myself and say, okay, this is it, done. Winterize them and call it a year. Just have to play it by ear. Have to get the bottom fixed up on a 19, which is pretty easy. Like I said, that's just the reason we use Rust-Oleum black is because they sell Rust-Oleum black spray paint at Home Depot. All fixed, as long as there is no fiberglass damage, which I don't think there is, so that's a plus. Shows you what kind of beast that monster is, though. That thing would split a friggin' tree 10 inches around just jumping over it. It's actually gone over a few pylons. As I said, I've had this boat a long time, you know, and the bay has a lot of stuff floating around it, including some old pier parts. And I was out with a friend of mine. Actually, he's a neighbor. Knew him okay, but I didn't know him that well. Didn't know he's never been on a boat before. And we were blasting along at about 30, 35 and went right up over a pole. And it was just kind of like almost a stuntman kind of thing. Boom, bam! Hit the outdrive, it flipped up in the air. I mean, it was what a mess. But scared the crap out of him. He never came out with me again. So, I love my beast. And yeah, maybe some of y'all will give me a hard time about, 64 in a race boat. I could do that in my blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's true. But, this thing was made to have... Oh, there's something to think about. That's something I got to add. We got to add this. So let's add this some other way. Even though I've had this race boat for quite a number of years, and being that I actually have the only working 2 motors, the 1 V drive, the 1 prop system in use today, kind of considered myself a little bit of an authority, tiny bit on the whole subject. And someone posted an article a while back on the Donzi Marine Restoration Society, which is an awesome site. You guys ought to go check it out. If you like your Donzis, you like your cigarettes, all that good stuff, that's what they play with. Pretty much old school. And even some new school Donzis and stuff like that. But long story short, there was an article posted up on it, and it was about twin motors and a Donzi to a single V drive to a single prop. That's where the idea kind of got its legs at, was with Brownie's Donzi. And one of the things that came out, and this is where you learn something new every day, this is the wild part about it, because as I said, I kind of thought of myself as a semi-authority. I always knew they were running twin 427 side oiler Fords with blowers, and I'm thinking, man, I'm really hauling ass with these K. Kiefer 482s. I'm up around 4,500 RPMs getting the numbers they were talking about that they would race at, and I'm thinking to myself, there's absolutely no way that they're sitting out here pumping these motors at 5,000 RPMs for a 500-mile race. I mean, we're talking about 1967, 1968 here. We're not talking about today, where they will turn motors 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 RPMs at some NASCAR tracks for 500 miles. In the article, it mentioned that they like to cruise, which means race, at about 3,600 RPMs. My conclusion with that is they wickedly overprop the boat, and then they ran these blower motors at such a low RPM, so they would have, it would not be like, there would not be a whole lot of top end there. It would just be like, get your boat going and go. So I guess that's the theory behind the whole thing originally. Now here I am turning 45, 47, 5,000 RPMs, somewhere around there. I really didn't get, I needed to get a damn camera on the gauges as I was going, because there's just too much going on when you're hauling ass. And now I can figure out why, because there's absolutely no way you'd be able to run 5,000, 6,000 RPMs in these big block friggin' solid motors for, I don't know, how long would it take to go 500 miles on the water? I think they had somewhere around 12 hours each way, maybe 18 hours, and anywhere between there. So, that's a lot of time. I mean, 24 to 36 hours straight of 5,000 RPMs. Today, yeah, sure, everything's roller, blah, blah, blah. Back then, no. So I really did get a sense of what their mindset was. Now, if I got it all figured out, it's kind of like with Hollies with me. The more I learn, the more I realize, the less I know. So, it may also explain why they had a 17 by 18 right-hand prop on the boat when I got it. Still trying to figure out what's going on with that, because this boat's set up for left-hand props. And to be honest, why not? We're on Race Boat Life. This is where honesty shines, baby. To be totally honest, I don't think anybody really knows what's what anymore. I've gotten a lot of information over the years. Some of it was good. Some of it seemed well-hearted. Other just seemed like it was just out there. As I said, when I originally got the boat, the motors were totally disassembled and out of the boat. The V-drive was in pieces, and I was told that you know, here's the prop shaft and the prop was still stuck on it. And that was that 21 with right hand prop. And as you can see, I use lefts. And the only way you do rights is if you drive off the nose, or if both motors are reverse rotations. Now the Fords used to come in reverse rotations. Why somebody would just automatically do that? Maybe for the torque, offset. And but that's kind of a circle boat thing, not a drag boat thing. So it's all perplexing to me. I've been trying to figure this out for over a decade, and it just, again, it all perplexes me, because for every reason, for one thing, I can give you another reason why it shouldn't be that way. And it's pretty much the whole boat has been like this. But I guess the challenge is half the fun. I don't know, maybe. Sometimes I wish the challenges were a little easier with bigger rewards, but, you know, you can't win them all, so to speak, in that sense. And one of these days I'll get it figured out. And then when I'm done, I guess they can take it off to a museum or something. And, we'll see what happens. This is not my first go-around, and no, alright, we're going to do that again. I really got to tell you, wow, that's a big-ass dent right across the whole front of the camera. How did that happen? The air breather material, you know, the kind that used to go in the old air horns, you know, and the air breather, and it would be for the oil filter, that kind of material. And I thought, let's just do this again. So, okay, we'll clip that in for something else. Something, I don't know, maybe clipping. It's clipping. Take this for exchange. Yeah. So, long story short, so I've been scratching my noggin a little bit about the burping situation with the puke tank over there and the 24s. Yeah. So I've been scratching my noggin here, trying to figure out what's going on with the puke tank and the 24 on the, yeah. One more time. Well, I've been scratching my noggin here, trying to figure out, got the two other ones in view, dumb. You know, like for an air breather to a valve cover, you know, the little white filters that sit inside the air can, you know, old, and they were running, you know, I always knew they were running